There's a kind of pain that doesn't make a sound, the kind where nothing dramatic happens, no final goodbye, no explanation, just silence. And somehow, that silence hurts more than the ending itself. Because how do you heal from something that never really ended? How do you move on when you never got the closure your heart was begging for? I think that's one of the hardest lessons in life. Realizing that sometimes the people who hurt you will never give you the peace you deserve. They'll just walk away, leaving you to pick up pieces of a story that never found its last page. And you're left there, still replaying everything in your head, trying to find where it went wrong, what you could have said differently, what you could have done to make them stay. I've been there, staring at the screen, waiting for a message that never came, waiting for words that could make sense of the mess. But all I got was silence, and the silence started to speak louder than any apology ever could. It said, "This is it. This is your ending, even if it doesn't feel like one." Closure, we think it's something someone else gives us. We wait for it like it's a gift, something that'll make everything finally make sense. But the truth is, closure doesn't always arrive wrapped in words or goodbyes. Sometimes closure is learning to accept that you may never know why. Sometimes the person who broke you will sleep peacefully at night while you're still wide awake, replaying memories, rewriting moments, wondering if any of it ever meant what you thought it did. And that's where the real healing begins. Not when you get answers, but when you decide to stop needing them. Because people don't always leave because of you. Sometimes they leave because of who they are, what they're carrying, the parts of themselves they can't face. Sometimes they disappear not because you weren't enough, but because your presence reminded them of everything they couldn't be. And if you spend your life waiting for them to explain that, you'll stay stuck in the waiting room of your own healing. Closure isn't a conversation, it's a decision. It's that quiet moment when you stop refreshing their page, stop checking your phone, stop trying to rewrite the story. It's when you tell yourself, I may never know why it ended, but I can still choose to move forward. You don't need their apology to set yourself free. You don't need their explanation to understand your worth. The truth is, most people who hurt you won't come back to fix it, not because they don't know they hurt you, but because facing your pain would require them to face their own. So instead, they run, and you're left holding the emotional weight of both their actions and their silence. But what if, instead of waiting for them to come back and make it right, you started making it right for yourself? What if closure wasn't something you waited for, but something you created? You see, closure is not about getting the answers. It's about accepting the lack of them. It's about realizing that peace isn't something they give. It's something you decide to give yourself. You can spend years replaying that story, trying to decode every word, every look, every choice they made. But the truth is, no amount of overthinking will turn a wound into understanding. Sometimes people just leave mid-sentence. Sometimes love ends without reason. Sometimes the person who swore they cared just stops caring. And you'll never know why. But that doesn't mean you can't still heal. Healing starts when you stop chasing closure and start chasing peace. It starts when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I learn from it? It starts when you take all that pain and decide, I'm going to use this to understand myself better. You see, the person who left may have closed their chapter, but your story is still being written. And every day you wake up, every day you choose to keep living, even with the ache still there. That's healing. That's strength. Closure is learning to walk away even when the door never closed. It's choosing to stop looking back, even when part of you still wants to. It's understanding that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay until the end. Some people are there to teach you lessons you didn't know you needed. Some are there to show you how much you can survive. You don't heal by pretending you're fine. You heal by admitting it still hurts, but choosing not to let it define you anymore. You heal by feeling it all, the confusion, the anger, the sadness, until you don't have to carry it anymore. You heal by realizing that the version of you who kept waiting deserves to rest. And maybe that's what closure truly is. Finally resting, not because they came back, not because they explained, but because you decided your heart deserved peace. And here's something I learned the hard way. Closure doesn't always come from understanding why they left. Sometimes it comes from realizing why you held on. Maybe you stayed because you believed love should fix things. Maybe you stayed because you thought if you were patient enough, they'd see your worth. Maybe you stayed because you were afraid of losing something you'd waited your whole life to find. But now you know, love that requires you to abandon yourself to keep it isn't love. It's survival. And you were made for more than survival. You deserve a kind of love that doesn't make you question your value. You deserve peace that doesn't depend on someone else's return. So if closure never comes, let it be okay. Let it hurt, but don't let it harden you. Let it break your heart open, not shut it down. Because the truth is, you don't need them to come back to find closure. You just need to come back to yourself. And one day, you'll realize the story doesn't end with their silence. It ends with your healing. If you and I are anything alike, if you've ever waited for someone to give you the closure they never did and learned that the only way out was through, then you already know sometimes the most powerful closure is the one you give yourself. And if you want to keep walking this path with me, then subscribe.